All right, so in this video, we're going to talk about why you keep having the same arguments over and over again in your marriage and what to do to actually stop. So, if you and your spouse keep having the same argument about money, sex, about parenting, about feeling unappreciated, or even just not feeling close anymore, this video is for you. Because here's what most couples never hear. If this argument could have been solved by logic, by better communication, by trying harder, it probably would have worked by now. So if you're stuck in an argument that just keeps looping over and over again, doesn't mean your marriage is broken. It means something important hasn't been understood yet. So let me describe what actually happens in these never-ending arguments. It might last forever in your marriage. So one of you brings something up. The other feels criticized or misunderstood. The voice rises. The tension rises. Defensiveness starts to kick in. Somebody shuts down. Somebody pushes harder. Eventually, nothing gets resolved. You've been in this dance. A few days later, right back in the same place. Different day, same argument. And really, what makes this so exhausting is that you're not arguing because you want to fight. You're arguing because you want to feel closer. And somehow, the attempt at connection just keeps turning into more distance. Now, here's what's important for you to understand. That's not an accident. Happens in a lot of marriages, including mine. It's a pattern, and patterns don't change by accident either. So here's the reframe that changes everything, right? Recurring arguments are almost never about the surface issues. They're not really about the dishes, the budget, sex, parenting styles, who said what, and how they said it. These are just the entry points. What's actually happening is that each of you is trying to protect something below the surface that is a little more vulnerable. Maybe it's feeling safe or feeling valued. Maybe it's feeling chosen or feeling like you actually matter to your partner. So the argument is not the problem. The disconnection underneath the argument is the problem. So let me show you what this looks like in real life. Right? Those were in a couple months back, probably similar to most marriages. They were arguing about intimacy. Now this one, they were arguing about intimacy for over 2 years. He often said in session that she just never initiates. That was a problem for him. She says he only wants her when he wants sex. He was only bringing attention and connecting with her when he wanted sex. That's pretty common. On the surface, it looks like a desire mismatch. But when we really slowed things down, here's what was actually happening below the surface. He's trying to feel wanted, and she is trying to feel seen. He reaches for her body because that's how he knows how to connect, and she pulls back because she doesn't feel emotionally close to him, and she wants that to happen before she opens up sexually. So he feels rejected. She feels objectified. Now they're both protecting. It's the same argument, but two completely different injuries are at play. And here's the part that really matters. You can't solve an emotional injury with a cognitive strategy. You can schedule more sex. You can agree to initiate more. You can read more books about desire. But if the injury underneath is not named, not understood, the argument just keeps dancing around the actual challenge. And this shows up in plenty of other places because the pattern is not always the topic. The pattern is how we're each relating to our inner pain while being in relationship. So let's be real. Why do smart, loving people keep repeating the same fight? This used to happen in my own marriage with my wife, Kate. Well, really, there's 3 reasons for that. Number 1, you're both in protection mode, and protection kills connection. Self-protection is never a way to get connection with another person. When an argument keeps repeating, both people are usually protecting something. One person is maybe protecting against feeling rejected. The other person is protecting against feeling controlled or inadequate. So instead of listening, you defend. Instead of understanding, you brace and put up a wall. And when 2 people are protecting themselves, nobody feels safe enough to connect. It's just 2 people behind their own walls, just flinging arrows. And here's how you know that you're in protection mode, right? You're not curious about what they're saying. Instead, you're waiting for your turn to explain, to be right, or win an argument. You're not trying to understand. You're trying not to be wrong. And trust me, I've been there in my own marriage. You're not feeling sad or scared. You're feeling angry or even numb. That's your nervous system running the show. And in that state, you can't hear nuance. You just assume threat. You react to threat instead of responding from a compassionate place. Even if you want to connect, your body's saying, whoa, Protect first. That's the priority. We can connect later, which is why these arguments tend to bring up so much disconnection. Now, reason number 2 is you're trying to solve the wrong problems. Most couples try to fix behavior. If you would just, or why can't you, or I need you to. The idea is we want our partners to have a different behavior so that we can experience the benefits of it. But recurring arguments are not behavioral problems. They're actually emotional signals. Your relationship is trying to tell you something. And the message isn't communicate better. The message is usually something like, I don't feel safe being vulnerable with you right now. I've seen so many individuals, that's exactly what they feel. I don't trust that my needs matter. Or I'm protecting myself because connection started to hurt. When you're solving for behavior, you totally miss the signal. And the signal is what actually needs attention. But if you're so focused on what your partner's doing, it's hard for you to understand what's going on for you internally. Now, here's reason number 3. Nobody taught you how to repair. I've met so many couples that know how to fight. They fight a lot and really don't know how to come back together. So the argument ends, but the injury doesn't. It just goes underground and it resurfaces and the tension spikes all over again. And that's why the same argument just keeps happening over and over again. Not because you're incompatible, because the wound actually never gets closed. There's no repair happening. And repair is one of the most important skills in having a successfully connected relationship. So you're probably thinking, hey, this is great, Eric. How do we start breaking the pattern? Okay, so let's start here. You have to be able to ask yourself, what does this argument mean to me? Not what is it about, but what does it mean? Because usually underneath the argument is something that sounds like, I feel unimportant, or I feel alone, or I feel like I don't matter to you. Maybe even, I feel like I'm failing. When couples stop debating facts and start sharing meaning, the entire dynamic shifts. Now, here's the hard part. Most people can't access that question in the moment because when you're activated, your brain's not asking, what does this mean to me? It's asking, how do I make this stop? We're in our adaptation. So you don't need to ask this question during the fight. You need to ask it after the fight. You need to reflect on it. You need to take some time, breathe in, and bring awareness. Sit down when you're both calm. Not to rehash the same argument, not to figure out who was right or who was wrong, just to understand what it meant for each of you. You can ask this simple framework here. Hey, when we argued about specific topic, what I really was feeling underneath was specific emotion. I think what I was actually trying to protect was whatever need or fear you might have. You're asking your partner not to fix it, but for understanding. You're just naming it. And when both people do that, something tends to shift because now you're not arguing about the dishes or sex or money or parenting tactics. You're talking about what those things represent to each of you individually. And that's where connection actually lives. Now, I have a framework that I teach my couples that I want to share with you right here in the video. It's a simple framework, but it works. So step 1 is name the pattern, not the problem. So instead of you never listen, try I'm noticing we keep ending up in the same argument, especially when we're stressed. This removes blame and essentially brings awareness to the surface. You're not attacking, you're observing. And using I or we statements here is ideal because an observation doesn't activate defense in the way an accusation does. So step 2 is to share the injury that is happening underneath. So here's a simple structure you can use. I feel emotion when observation because deeper wound or meaning. So an example is I feel disconnected when we argue like this because closeness really matters to me. I feel inadequate when you bring this up because I'm already so hard on myself about it and it really drops me into shame. Emotion builds bridges. An accusation is just torches them. So one of the things that people mostly get wrong around this is they think vulnerability means, crying all the time or being soft, which again, there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't though. Vulnerability means naming what's true, taking responsibility for your experience without blaming the other person for it. That's the skill here on step 2. Now, step 3 is ask for connection, not change. So instead of demanding a change in behavior, ask for presence in the moment. Honey, what I need right now is reassurance. Or what I need right now is to feel close to you. Or what I need right now is to know we're on the same team and that you have my back. Connection comes before correction, always. Because when someone feels safe with you, they tend to move towards you. When they don't, they protect. And you can't force somebody to stop protecting by trying to bring them out from behind their wall. It's just going to lead to more protection. You can only create the conditions where protection feels less necessary for your partner. Here's the part that nobody really talks about is this is not going to work the first time. You'll try it. It'll feel awkward. You might still get activated. That's fine. The goal is not perfection. The goal is practicing a different pattern until the new pattern becomes automatic. In a lot of the work we do, I call this putting in the reps. It's not one good conversation that's going to solve everything. It might take 10, 20, 50 until your nervous system starts to learn this is different. I can feel more connected now. I want to share what this looked like in my own marriage with my wife, Kate. So I want to make this real for you. So there was a season way back when Kate and I, we kept having the same argument over and over and over again. So on the surface level, it was about tone. I'd say something, no matter how I said it, she would hear it as criticism. So she'd get defensive and I get frustrated because I wasn't trying to criticize her. And then we'd both end up just shutting down. My anger, her defensiveness, the more she defended, the more angry I got. Round and round we went. Same loop every single time. But once I slowed it down and kind of opened up with Kate, we started to realize something. First, of course, I wasn't trying to criticize her. I was trying to feel like my perspective mattered to her. And Kate wasn't trying to get defensive. She was trying to protect herself from feeling inadequate. So again, it's the same argument, but two completely different injuries that were showing up. Once we stopped defending and started listening to what was happening underneath some of those arguments, the argument lost its power. Not overnight, but with consistency over time. And here's what I really want you to hear. I'm a coach. Like I teach this stuff. And we still get stuck in this pattern from time to time. It's not a failure. It's actually just being human. The difference now is we know how to repair. We know how to stay connected. And that repair is really what makes the difference. So if you're thinking this, so if you're watching this and thinking, yeah, Eric, we keep having this same argument. I'm so tired of it. I want you to hear this clearly. Repeating arguments doesn't mean your marriage is failing. Doesn't mean you're incompatible. Doesn't mean you're not meant to be together. It means something important hasn't been seen, heard, and understood yet. And when couples learn how to see, hear, and understand each other again, real connection becomes possible. That's where real intimacy lives. Now, here's the truth. Most couples don't need more information. They need a system, a clear, step-by-step process for getting out of that cycle and rebuilding emotional safety together. And that's really what we offer in the Free Connection Blueprint. It's not theory. It's not generic communication advice. It's the exact framework I use with my couples in session to break out of negative cycles, to rebuild emotional safety, and to reconnect, even after months or years of distance. So if you want to stop repeating the same fight and start feeling close again, you can grab the Connection Blueprint in the link below, or you can go to evolvedmarriage.com/go. You don't need to keep wondering if this will ever change. You just need a roadmap. And before you go, drop a comment. Let me know. What's the argument you and your spouse keep having on repeat? And what do you think it's really about? Because you're not alone and real change is possible. I've experienced it and I've seen so many couples I've worked with create changes in their own relationships.